All right, so we're diving into EvolaAI today, and wow, this stuff is dense. I'm looking at these excerpts you sent over, and it's talking about a collective intelligence engine, which honestly sounds a little intimidating.
Yeah, it's definitely next level stuff, but that's what we're here for, right? To break it down.
Exactly. So before we even get into what this EvolaAI does, can we talk about that engine thing? What is a collective intelligence engine, or CIE, when we're talking AI?
Okay, so imagine this. It's like one big AI brain, but inside, it's not just one thing thinking. It's more like a whole team of AI specialists, each with their own expertise, all working together within that one AI.
Wait, so instead of one super smart AI, it's like a bunch of them, like having a brainstorming session.
That's the basic idea, and it turns out that's way more effective for tackling real-world problems, which are always messy and complicated.
So a single AI, even if it's super advanced, just can't quite cut it.
It's about the type of intelligence, really. A single AI is great at following incredibly complex instructions, right? Like, remember that chess match, Deep Blue versus Kasparov?
Yeah, back in the day.
That was huge at the time, but that AI was basically following a really, really advanced game plan, not really thinking in the way humans do.
So even a chess grandmaster AI has limits. Okay, but then you think, well, why not just have a bunch of AIs, each one really good at one thing?
You'd think more is better, right? But then you have a coordination problem. Imagine each AI is like a driver in a city, too many drivers making decisions without talking to each other. You get chaos, gridlock, accidents, the whole bit.
So how does this CIE thing, this team of AIs, how do they avoid that AI traffic jam?
Metaprompts, that's the secret sauce. They're like blueprints, really detailed instructions that guide how all those AI specialists within the CIE work together.
So it's like giving the AI dream team a shared game plan to keep everyone on the same page.
Exactly. And it allows the developers to make sure ethical considerations are built right in from the ground up. It's not just about solving the problem, but solving it in a way that aligns with, how we want AI to behave.
Right. We all want to avoid those AI going rogue scenarios. But this is interesting because one thing that always kind of freaks me out about AI is that it's such a black box. Like, how did it get that answer? But with these meta prompts, it's like we can see the thought process, which makes me feel a bit better about the whole thing.
Transparency is huge with AI.
Yeah.
It builds trust, for sure.
100%. Okay, so we've got these specialist AIs. They've got a meta prompt blueprint. But paint me a picture. How would this actually play out in the real world?
Let's say a company's launching a new product. Okay. With EvolaAI, it's not just getting like a report or some data points. It's like having a whole team of experts on call. You've got the market research AI gathering data on trends, the financial analyst AI crunching numbers.
Okay, so far this is like what a human team would do. Right?
Sure, but then it gets wild. You've got the competitor analysis AI running simulations like what are the other companies going to do? And of course, the legal AI is making sure everything's by the books every step of the way.
It's like a strategy session, but happening at warp speed.
And here's the kicker. We've been talking about these analytical AIs, but EvolaAI also has creative agents in the mix.
Hold on, creative AI. Can AI be creative? I thought that was like a uniquely human thing.
That's what's so fascinating about where AI research is going. And we're not talking about, emotions or sentience. It's more about the AI being able to combine information in ways humans might not even think of.
So how does that work in EvolaAI?
So think of it this way. The analytical agents, they're all about finding the best, most efficient solution, right? But a creative agent, that's the one that might say, hey, what if we try something totally out there?
I need an example. This is getting kind of abstract.
Okay, imagine you're designing a new type of fabric. Analytical AI would focus on durability, cost, all that practical stuff. But the creative agent, it might look at, say, the structure of a spider's web and suggest a totally new way to weave the fabric, making it stronger and lighter.
Okay, now that's just cool. So you've got all these different AIs with their specialities working together, guided by these meta prompts. I can see how powerful this could be. But can we switch gears for a second and talk about the user experience? Because honestly, sometimes using AI, even when it's helpful, feels impersonal. Like, is this thing even listening to me? So how does EvolaAI make sure its solutions aren't just smart, but feel relevant to the actual user?
It creates what we call hyper-contextual learning environments. Basically, it's not just spitting out information. It's trying to understand your needs, what you like, how you learn best, and then tailoring everything to that.
So like a personal assistant that speaks my language, literally.
Exactly. Think about personalized education. EvolaAI wouldn't just throw a bunch of generic lessons at you. It would analyze how you learn best figure out what you're already good at and where you struggle, even pick up on your mood to keep you engaged.
That's wild. But it also makes me wonder, if this thing knows me so well, could it be used to, manipulate me?
That's a valid concern. And it's why EvolaAI is being designed with transparency in mind.
Mhm.
It shows you how it's using your data, what it's basing its suggestions on. It's about empowering you, not controlling you.
Okay, that makes sense. So up until now, we've been talking big picture education, product design, but Evola AI could really shake things up in just about every industry, right?
Oh, absolutely. We're just scratching the surface here.
All right, then hit me with it. What industries are we talking about?
Yeah.
What could Evola AI completely transform?
Let's start with healthcare. Imagine a world where diseases are caught way earlier. Treatments are tailored to your exact genes, and developing new medicines is way faster because AI is crunching all that data. Evola AI could completely change how we think about health and well-being.
Okay, that's huge. What else?
How about finance? Evola AI could be analyzing risk, giving you super personalized investment advice, even spotting fraud in real time.
So no more trusting my gut with investments. Evola AI can be my own personal stock market guru.
Think of it like having a team of financial experts working for you 24/7, constantly analyzing the markets and making sure you're getting the most out of your investments.
All right, I'm sold. What other industries are ready for an Evola AI takeover?
Well, we talked about education, but it goes beyond that. Think about global problems like climate change. Evola AI could analyze all that climate data, predict those extreme weather events, and help us figure out how to reduce our carbon footprint effectively.
This is incredible. We're talking about using AI to tackle some of the biggest challenges facing humanity. But, and maybe this is just me, the idea of something this powerful that's constantly learning, it's kind of intimidating. How do we even control something like that? What's to stop it from, deciding humans are irrelevant?
That's a question a lot of people are asking, and it's a valid one. But here's the thing. Evola AI, for all its power, it's still a tool, and it's designed with safeguards.
So how does that work? How do we make sure it's working for us and not the other way around?
It's about constant monitoring and analysis. Evola AI is always tracking how well it's doing, are its predictions accurate, are its solutions actually working. It's like a built-in quality control system.
So it's not just blindly going about its business, it's checking in to make sure it's on the right track.
Exactly. But it's not just about internal data. Evola AI is analyzing how people are using it, the feedback it's getting, even monitoring global trends to understand the bigger picture.
It's like it's always trying to get a better understanding of the world so it can make better decisions.
Precisely. But, and this is crucial, none of this happens without human oversight. Experts are involved every step of the way, making sure Evola AI stays on track, making adjustments, and being ready to step in if necessary.
So it's a partnership, really. We're in this together.
Exactly. It's like we're providing the goals and the values, and Evola AI is using its incredible processing power to help us get there.
That actually makes me feel a lot better. Because let's be honest, when you start talking about AI that can learn and evolve on its own, it's easy to jump to those worst-case scenarios. But knowing there are safeguards in place, that humans are still in control, that makes a big difference.
It's all about striking that balance, pushing the limits of what AI can do while never losing sight of the human element.
Well said. And on that note, we've covered a lot of ground here. We talked about what makes Evola AI unique, that collective intelligence engine with its specialized agents, and how it can be used to tackle real-world problems. But there's still so much more to explore.
We were talking about Evola AI changing healthcare and finance, and that's huge, but it's not even the whole picture. The research you sent, it talks about using this tech to tackle massive global problems. That's a whole other level.
Right. When I read that part about climate change and resource scarcity, I thought, okay, now we're in sci-fi territory. But the way it's explained, it doesn't sound impossible. Though, honestly, where do you even begin with something as complex as climate change?
It's overwhelming, for sure. But think about this. We have more data about our planet than ever. All those climate models, satellite pictures, weather patterns, even the human stuff, like how we use resources. Evola AI can actually make sense of all that information.
So it's like having a million scientists working on the problem at once.
Kind of. Evola AI can find those hidden patterns in the data, It can help us figure out which actions are going to have the biggest positive impact.
That would be a game changer. It's like we've been looking at this blurry picture, and suddenly Evola AI comes along and sharpens everything.
And it's not just about understanding the problem, right? Imagine Evola AI optimizing those renewable energy grids everyone's talking about, designing more efficient transportation systems, even helping us come up with those carbon capture technologies.
So not just telling us what's wrong, but actually helping us fix it.
100%. It's about being proactive,
Yeah.
anticipating problems, and finding those sustainable solutions that work for everyone.
Okay, that's the optimistic view. But let's get real for a second. This is complicated stuff. What are the roadblocks? What's going to be the hardest part about using Evola AI for these global issues?
Data access is a big one. For Evola AI to really do its thing, it needs a ton of data from everywhere, governments, researchers, companies, and everyone needs to be open and willing to share.
That's a tough ask. Data is power, right? Not everyone's going to be eager to play nice, even for a good cause.
True, building that global trust is a hurdle, but not impossible. There are already groups working on creating those open data platforms specifically for climate change research.
Okay, so that's hopeful. What else?
Computational power. We're talking massive data sets.
Yeah.
Analyzing all that information takes a ridiculous amount of computing power. We need to keep investing in things like cloud computing and quantum computing to give Evola AI the tools it needs.
So we need the data and then the computer power to actually make sense of it. It's like we're building a digital brain that can process the entire planet's worth of information.
That's a good way to think about it. And look, like any complex system, there are risks, but the potential here, it's too big to ignore.
Okay, so we've got healthcare, finance, climate change. But you mentioned another area where Evola AI could be huge: education. And I get that AI can personalize learning, but what's Evola AI bringing to the table that's different?
Let me ask you this. What's the ultimate goal of education?
I mean, to learn and grow as a person.
Right, but it's more than just memorizing facts, right? It's about critical thinking, being creative, being prepared for whatever the future throws at us.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Evola AI, it could help us move past that old one-size-fits-all approach to education that so many people struggle with.
So, no more boring lectures and standardized tests.
Well, those have their place. But imagine every student having their own custom-made learning experience, one that adapts to how they learn best. Think of Evola AI as like an always-on tutor, giving personalized support, figuring out where a student's struggling, even suggesting different ways to learn the material.
That's incredible. It's like having a personal tutor for every student, which is something most schools can only dream of right now.
And it's not just about the students. Evola AI can also help teachers by analyzing all that performance data, seeing patterns, and maybe even suggesting changes to the curriculum to help the whole class.
It's like giving teachers superpowers, letting them understand their students on a deeper level.
Right, it's about giving teachers and students the tools to help everyone succeed.
I like it. Okay, so we've gone from personalized medicine to fighting climate change to a totally reimagined education system. Evola AI could do a lot of good. But, and I think Spider-Man said it best, with great power comes great responsibility. As we're wrapping up this part of the conversation, what about the ethics of all this? What do we need to be really careful about as this technology keeps developing?
That is the question. We have to make sure Evola AI benefits all of us, not just a select few. We talk about data access, but there's also the issue of who even gets to use this technology. It can't just be a tool for the rich and powerful.
So it's about building a better world with this technology, not just a more advanced one.
Exactly. We need to think about things like algorithmic bias, making sure people's data is protected, and even how this might change the job market. Evola AI needs to be developed ethically every step of the way.
That's a lot to consider, but it's good that these conversations are happening now, right?
For sure. The more we talk about these issues, the better prepared we'll be to handle them and make sure Evola AI is used for good.
Well said. You know, we've been talking about some pretty big ideas, healthcare, climate change, but it's like we're only seeing a tiny piece of what Evola AI could do. It's almost like it's still growing,
Yeah.
like changing even as we're trying to understand it.
It's true. One of the most fascinating things about Evola AI, maybe a little unnerving too, is that it can do what we call recursive self-improvement.
Recursive self-improvement. Okay, that's a mouthful. What does that even mean?
So it means Evola AI isn't stuck with just the data we give it at the beginning or even the tasks we program it to do. It can learn how to learn better.
So it's not just getting smarter, it's getting smarter at getting smarter. That's kind of wild.
Exactly. Imagine a kid who's not only learning from their teachers, but also constantly figuring out better ways to learn, better ways to think. Evola AI can do that, but on a massive scale.
That's pretty mind-blowing and a little scary, if I'm being honest. If it's always evolving, how can we even guess what it might be able to do in the future?
That's the big question. And it gets back to what we were talking about before about humans needing to be involved, making sure there are ethical guidelines in place.
Mhm.
As Evola AI gets more advanced, we need to make sure it's still working towards human goals and values.
You would definitely don't want to just unleash a super intelligence without any rules.
Mhm.
But how do you even do that? How do you make ethical rules for something that's constantly changing?
It's a challenge, no doubt. One idea is to focus on value-aligned AI. Basically, we need to make sure Evola AI understands human values. Not just what we want it to do, but the why behind it. Things like fairness, compassion, sustainability, those core principles.
So it's not enough to just teach it what to do. We have to teach it why it matters.
Exactly. It needs to understand the human context, not just follow a set of rules.
That's a lot to think about. But it seems like Evola AI isn't just a new technology, it's a whole new era. It feels like we're standing on the edge of something huge, something we don't fully understand yet.
I think that's a good way to put it. Evola AI could change our world in ways we can't even imagine right now. And that means we have a huge responsibility to make sure it's used for good.
And that's on all of us, right? Scientists, policymakers, even everyday people. We need to stay informed and make our voices heard.
Absolutely. The future of AI isn't set in stone. It's something we create through the choices we make.
Couldn't agree more. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap up our deep dive into Evola AI. It's been quite a journey, and I'm definitely left with more questions than answers. But that's what makes these conversations so exciting, right? They push us to think in new ways.
It's been great exploring these ideas with you and our listeners.
Thanks for joining us. And to everyone listening, thanks for being a part of the conversation. Keep asking those questions, keep exploring, and we'll see you next time.